I see as a species we seem to put a lot of attention on blame and blaming others and looking for an enemy, and it divides us, whereas the truth is there are no enemies out there really. It's circumstances that have created everything that we've allowed. So who controls everything on the planet? Well, the truth is we do, but we walk around as if we don't, and therefore because we walk around as if we don't, we won't. But if we walk around as if we do, then obviously we will. And what does it require to walk around as if we are in control? Well, it takes responsibility, and that's the biggest thing, is the responsibility. So we can all point fingers and look at everything that's going on and say, but it's because they're doing it, or they want this, or it's because they're money orientated, or you can spend a lifetime just going on from one point to the other, and where does it get you? It doesn't get you nowhere. It's all just part of the smoke screen, really. The truth of the fact is we need to realise what the basic fundamentals are, and that is that we have a certain number of areas, I can't remember whether it's 7 or 9, of vital importance that help to maintain the stability in every respect of this planet that we live on and our existence within it. And whilst we're looking at all of the smoke screen and continuing our daily lives and looking for people to blame, we have to talk about the things that people are avoiding, so I'm here to do just that. One of the things people are avoiding is, a few of the things are, what is the worst, impact that we are having on the planet constantly at the moment. And you could say the two major, biggest driving factors that bring everything down are industry and the animal agriculture business, which is part of industry. So we could look at them and we could say, okay, well, they're the biggest contributors, or there are many other factors as well. But obviously if we look at problems and we tackle the main concern of that problem straight away, then obviously, that's a big chunk done, rather than worrying about all the petty stuff that the governments will never ever do, but responsibility comes into this, because we have to realise that we can't look at them and blame them. Industry is a machine that's been created by us, and it's doing exactly what it does. It's producing, it's churning out thing after thing after thing, and all of the consumerist societal area of that is focused upon that, and that's what drives it. We drive it. We are the fuel for consumption. Without our drive, it doesn't happen, and it is that simple. I used to believe that one person can't change the world. You think, how can one person change the world? But there are times in history when I've seen that isn't the case, because one person doesn't change the world. One person changes themselves, and then people see the like and maybe change themselves. And when that starts to happen, that's what changes the world. So if I was to turn around and say, okay, I am going to take responsibility for everything that I decide to want or need from now on, and the impact that has, not just financially, because finances are cheap, but where does cheap come from? Cheap doesn't come from nowhere. Cheap comes at a cost, and whether that's the cost of somebody else's well-being and structure of life, or whether that's a ecological cost of pollution or poisons, or we have to look at the full balance of things, because we're in a crucial stage. And what we're being told on the media is they only focus on the minimum of what they can tell you, because obviously they're controlled. But the truth is, yes, they're going, oh, we've overstepped the boundaries when it comes to pollution. How about biodiversity? We've extinct most of the species of animals on the planet. I think the majority, to about 90% of living animals on this planet, are domestic. It's crazy. So we've overstepped the mark on about 4 or 5 boundaries, and the truth is, I think we're faced with quite a stark choice. And that choice is, how do we want to move forwards from now? Because the past is done, the future hasn't been written yet, but we have today, and we have now. We have this moment, we have every moment that appears in front of us now. And we have to decide, there are 2 routes, I believe. One is the easy route, and that's the route where we do nothing and we continue to live our lives with self-gratification and self-fulfillment, looking for that elusive happiness that often isn't there, because we're so tied up in the structural society that promotes stress and unwell-being. We struggle and become ill and lost, and so we can take the easy route, which is the gluttonous, destructive route, which is going to lead us, I believe, into an artificial future whereby we've destroyed all of our farmland and we rely on GMOs, and everything has to be produced and grown and manufactured and to sustain us, because we've destroyed everything, and our climate is such that it's doing us no favours. So that's the one version that I see approaching very, 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 very fast. But I hold hope that there is the chance of another version, and this is the chance that I would like people to take. But it requires all of us. It requires commitment and big action from all of us. I'm not a vegan, but I choose to live that lifestyle based on the knowledge that I have and the impact that I know, is associated with it. Not only just on the ecology side, but physically for my health. But we all have responsibilities, but we all have a global responsibility first, because this is our spaceship, it's our life support machine. If we destroy this and the balance, which is very fragile, of what this can give us, it's a miracle of a planet. The fact that we even exist on here in itself is a miracle beyond our own comprehension. And yet because we wake up to it every day, we're taking it for granted. We've allowed ourselves to be enslaved into a system chasing money and power, greed and manipulation, and desiring things we don't need, and feeling like we need to be ways that we don't. And it's, you can see the collapse of society, more depression, more anxiety, more unhappiness. And why? We have an amazing, beautiful planet that gives us everything, but we've allowed greed and industry and a system where we let those who see the right opportunities and know the right people and can exploit other people the best are the ones who rise to power. And obviously when those types of people rise to power, what kind of a chance does that give everybody else? And what kind of a society do you expect to live in when we allow this to happen, and we allow it? Because with the billions of people on this planet, if you count how many of them, or the percentage of them, are the people who are in power and are the main driving force of destruction, you find it's a very small percentage. And this is why we don't want people to become responsible and aware of their own actions and the consequences that has. But unfortunately, we're not here now because we want it to be. It's not a choice anymore. This is a necessity. You know, I don't want to be standing on a soapbox giving you all, a sermon and pointing you to all of, through the smoke, really. I don't want to, but I feel I have to, because I feel that everybody who has a voice, who sees what's going on now, needs to speak out and, show as many people as possible that there are other ways, other answers, and it doesn't have to be the way that, people are trying to manipulate us into, because if we turn into an artificial world where we're reliant upon GMOs and we put so many chemicals around us that the ocean's acidic and, temperatures are up and down because we've already now left our age of stability that we've had for a short period of time. It doesn't bode well, because then the people who manufacture or control the manufacture of what you need to sustain you are the people who have power utterly and totally over your life and death, and getting chips inside of you and allowing technology to be your friend. Well, AI intelligence is going to overrun human intelligence, and once you accept something into your body and it takes, it would take control of you if they wired it that way. It's like put a transmitter inside of you. Well, we run on electricity. We are organic computers. We don't need a chip inside of us. We don't need all of these fake things they're giving us. We're capable of self-healing and great wonders. But, they try and shut us down. But anyway, that's loads of topics for loads of different discussions, which obviously this is what this is all about. But the bottom line is, we're facing extinction, and we need to come together and say, right, this is what we need to do. And there's no, ask the government. The choices, it's not down to them, it's down to us. If I see that the two biggest factors, influencing all of the destruction on this planet are industry and the animal agriculture, well, it's very easy for me to say to change that, because then I say, right, okay, I will look for an alternative. I don't need to eat meat. And trust me, meat isn't good for you. It really isn't. I know your mainstream will tell you that it is, but the truth is, if you're eating it for protein, well, we humans don't produce protein, and I know animals don't. So how can you get protein from a source that doesn't produce it? The animal gets its protein from the vegetation, or the majority of it, So there's very little protein in it. The protein you get is second hand. So better off going to source, really. But anyway, obviously diet, that's another thing I'm going to touch upon with pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. So there'll be lots of different sections, but the thing that we need to focus on for the mainstay is we need to take responsibility, and that's what it comes down to. And it's tough, because I love a burger, I love a steak. I was a chef for over 30 years, ate every part of an animal. But now that I know the consequences, because we can't keep up with demand, regardless of whether it's good for you or not, it's the impact that it's having on the world and the ecosystem, and how that will then impact very, very quickly within the next 50 to 70 years. That will severely, impact us. And once you go over a tipping point, it's gradual, but then once you go over, before you know it, things speed up, and we're already there. We need really serious, drastic action to be able to pull things back, and even hope that we've got some chance, because that's all we've got. This isn't a fix. This is a hope. If we can all get together and say, right, this is it. We need to pull our fingers out of our arses, take responsibility. I'm going to do this. Let's try it for a period of time. Remember when we first went into lockdown and everyone's going, wow, look how nature bounced back, and look, the air's cleaner, and God, we're also less stressed. you know, apart from obviously finances and stuff like that for some people. But finances is a made up stress, isn't it? You know, so we could all cut that down as well. And all this fake debt that everybody's in, we could cut that out as well, because this is a choice, you know. But the first thing we need to do is we need to find a common cause that unites us all. And I don't think that we can find anything more common than our extinction, which is what we're on the brink of. I mean, you might have all of the people who are billionaires who are already probably have bunkers, who knows, everywhere, ready to disappear into. So, you know, the continuation of them might be assured, but the continuation of everybody else, who knows? You know, it's going to become extreme, I think. So it's up to us. Do we want to preserve this really nice way of life that we've set up, even though it's very unhealthy in lots of areas? But we can change that very easily. That's all responsibility as well, and choice, and also information, you know. So we need to make all of the information available so everybody understands the truth of what's going on. Make, you know, when people do tests on things, you know, make it universal so that we can all look in and people can see it, you know, students and everybody can see it, so they can say, oh, actually that doesn't look right, that does look right, and then we can get to the truth of it. You know, if you think it's a flat earth or a round earth, well, let's send everyone, we'll send a satellite up, we'll hold it in position, we'll have that monitor the earth for 24 hours, and we'll see what happens, yeah? So all of that kind of stuff, you know. But these things, they're not, our survival isn't based on them. Our survival is based on repairing the planet, stopping doing any more damage to the planet, and unifying with each other, because we won't achieve things unless we all stand together, and that's a fact. Because look at how many charities and how many, you know, people are trying to do good all over the world, and it just gets absorbed into business. Well, this isn't business here that I'm doing. This is a movement. This is, you know, a coming together of people like-minded who are all interested in the same thing, and, you know, by choice of action and responsibility, we then change everything. And that's all it takes. And it is that simple. You don't need to go out and protest. You know, it's not going to cost you loads of money. It's definitely not going to be bad for you, because obviously, you know, a plant-based diet is healthier. It's cheaper. I can attest 100% that physically and mentally I'm 100% better, and I've been through depression and all that kind of shit. You know, I've had a good colourful life, so I'm not somebody who doesn't have a clue about life or what I'm going on about. You know, I've got lots of experience of life in many areas, and the truth is, you know, for such a small sacrifice, you know, we could get such big gains. You know, and there's a lot of research can be done, so this is why on my website, obviously I'm putting a lot of work into putting a lot of links out there to give you the information that will allow you to make clearer decisions, and you know, and hopefully, you know, you're the type of people that will look at it and reflect and, you know, see the truth in what I say, and maybe give some value to it. And a little bit of change is better than none, you know. One step is better than standing still. So every epic journey was reached because of the first step. So, and that's what this is. This is the first step, reaching out to, you know, beseeching people to, you know, look at their actions and what consequences they have, you know. And another thing we could maybe consider is to bring more unity. You know, if I'm working as a chef, say, in London, then I'm working as a chef in Hong Kong, or, you know, Tibet, or Malaysia, or, you know, Sweden, who knows. Anyway, if I'm on a certain position, doing a certain job, and on, you know, £12 an hour, it should be the same everywhere. If I go to the shop and I buy a bag of flour, well, the price should be universally the same. You know, because if everything was universally the same, then we wouldn't need to drive things up constantly. You know, there would be no pushing for to compete. I mean, to compete against what? We're competing against ourselves. You know, the more you drive things up, the more expensive things become, the more difficult they become. Just about adding value to things that have got absolutely no intrinsic value in the survival of our species, and it's just absolutely madness. That's the reality of it. You know, I know we all see reality differently, and those of us who are maybe not so aligned to wealth and sort of that kind of draw tend to find the true value in things like what we already have, the miracle of life and the miracle of this beautiful planet and the miracle of the possibility of what we could become if we all joined together and became a bit more conscious. That's one of the key words floating around today. I have a understanding of why we're not, of course. Obviously I will go deeper into it, but just to touch upon it, just to make you understand obviously what we're not being given. I keep things in a basic so they're quite irrefutable. So everything's basic to me, like everything comes down to the atom, which is vibrational energy, and 99.99% of the atom's empty, obviously, which means that everything that we look at is solid, really. How solid is it when 99.9% of it is actually empty space? But that's quantum physics, which is actually very simple if you bring it down to just vibrational energy and sounds and, waves, wavelengths. Now, we're all in control, as I was saying, about this microchip coming into us, our organic computers anyway. Well, we have the most powerful computer and machine at our disposal on the planet, each and every single one of us. Yeah, when we're born and when we're brought up and when we're educated, it's one of the things that we're not taught how to utilise. In fact, there's an effort going on to shrink the size of our pineal gland, which used to be, maybe 2.5, 3 inches in size. It's now the size of, I don't know, a few millimeters. But it is the seat to our conscious and the seat to our power in reality. But it's the one thing that we're not taught about, how to manage our bodies and emotions. Yet there are industries out here trying to fix people now because because people need fixing. I mean, why would somebody need fixing when they have the perfect machine and computer? Because they don't know how to use it. And then other people who do know how to use it badly, tie it up and put wrong programs in it and make it think that it wants things that it doesn't want and it doesn't need, and feed it a bad kind of energy and food and all of these things just to promote their power, control and business, and to control the population numbers, which obviously we do need to think about, because if you continue to expand and expand and expand, it doesn't matter what size planet you live on, eventually you'll have gone too far. So there are real serious issues obviously constantly that we need to consider. But if we bring people up so that they're aware of who they are, how to control their bodily functions, what emotions are, their thoughts, that little voice inside your head that we all have, which is your thoughts. I mean, I spent many years of my life thinking I was a schizophrenic because I would talk to myself and I had this little voice inside my head, and we were always taught, if you've got that little voice inside your head, you're a schizophrenic, isn't it? And I used to think, best not let anyone know I've got a voice inside my head. Well, we all have, and it's more commonly known than what we realised, but just people don't talk about it, and it's called our thoughts. So, but when we learn, how we can empower ourselves, brain tricks. So just imagine you get your children and you teach them yoga so that they're very physically and spiritually well aligned, because it's very good for you. Keep your chakras aligned and get all your energy centers, which is proven in science and biology that we have these energy centers within us. So obviously this is a science-based practice, yoga. So if we allowed our children to do that, which would be good for them, you know, and it's non-competitive also. And then if we taught them what their emotions were and how to deal with them and how to speed read and memory tricks and all of these things that are available to us, and if we taught them how to sense the energy, because, you know, we are energy beings living in an energy world. Our reality that we think is solid, that we view in front of us, is just a picture in our brain. But the reality is we see a very small spectrum of light, and that's all we see. And that is then translated by our brain into the images that, you know, we all agree that we see. And that's, you know, the thin film of the physical reality that we live in. And it feels solid because we're touching energy to energy. And obviously different vibrations have different solidities. But anyway, that's all deep stuff. What we need to focus on is, you know, us as adults. We need to make conscious choices that are based for the betterment of the global society, you know, because there's only one race, you know. We're going on all those race wars. No, man, we're one race, the human race, and we shouldn't even be a race, because we're racing to, you know, racing to our own destruction. You know, we're covered by lies and deceit to make us think that we're, you know, advancing in certain areas like aerospace, where we're not. And the reason is because obviously because we're depleting all of the resources on this planet. They have to put a dream out there to stop everybody thinking, fuck me, we're there. We're further in this shit than we thought we were, and just standing against them, because that will happen when people realise, obviously, when you get pushed too far. But why do we have to always wait till we get pushed too far, you know, until it's almost too late? And it probably is now, you know. So why do we have to wait that long before we stand up and we say, right, you know, enough's enough? Too many people suffer, you know. We live in an age where we have so much, but yet still people are homeless and starving. You know, we have more sick people on this planet now than probably even in the bubonic plague. And I'm talking sick as in sick physically, mentally, spiritually. You know, the diet that everyone's consuming. You know, look at the studies of, you know, countries that consume consume milk or dairy produce. Look at the countries that don't, and look at the countries that do now but didn't, and the difference in the fracture rates of bone and osteoporosis. You know, sold a lie. It's sold to us as children. You know, for all of these people in power, you know, we know they lie. You know, this is 100%. You know, so if they can lie to us, why should we believe them on anything? You know, and yet still, blindly people walk on. You know, oh yeah, I'm so ensconced in my own little bubble. But if you look beyond your bubble, you see your bubble's not very secure anymore. You know, and it's not your bubble, because it's a bubble that's been projected onto you to keep you working, entertained by the football and all of these things that have no great impact on the people. They do have a great impact actually, because they're so overpaid. You know, that's their job, to distract and entertain, and they're very good at it, because, you know, but, you know, regardless of what race, religion, belief system, you know, size, sex, whatever, blah blah blah, you know, we're all affected by this. We're all affected by the fact that our planet is being destroyed to a much more serious level than people like to admit, you know, and that we have to act now, and it is that urgent, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna go for now and get on with more stuff to do with this. This is just me putting some notes on paper and seeing if, you know, if I can create something that will make you all listen and take note and pull your fucking socks up, man, you know, because if we don't, we're fucked. Anyway, catch you later, bye.